Texting.
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 Texting. Texting. Texting. Texting.
Texting.
Texting.
Mark, Will, and Tomek present
Texting.
Hello, all you textual deviants, and welcome to another episode of Texting. I'm Mark Will in Taipei.
And I'm Jihad of the Mind in St. Petersburg.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is season 5 of our podcast venture, the first episode of said season. Am I right about that?
I think you're right, brother. By the way, is it your birthday today?
Not today, no. It's May, end of May. And
Okay, my
we're
bad.
filming April, whatever. What
Okay,
is it?
because I had somehow thought that guitar in the picture you sent me was a birthday present.
That is a dobro or resonator guitar. But yeah, it is an early birthday present.
Very early.
Well, yeah, a month, roughly.
Okay, nice. Dobro in Russian would be like good, you know?
I know.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But it's kind of like commonization. It's like Kleenex or Coke referring to, I mean, it becomes like generic, you know what I'm saying? Like the original resonator guitar was produced by the Dobro company. So now all resonator guitars can be called Dobros. See what I'm saying?
Feel you, bro.
And what is that? Well, it's basically just a loud acoustic guitar. So
Still acoustic.
yeah, it's acoustic. It's not electric. You
Wow.
could like, I guess you could put a pickup on it somehow, and of course you can mic it, but blues guys like them before electric guitars because they're louder than regular acoustics. So when they played nightclubs, they could be heard over the noise of the club, or, you know, if they're playing with a big band, they can be heard over the horns and other instruments. That was the
Nice.
idea.
Very
But
good,
anyway,
very
it
good.
just has an interesting tone. And the one I got is a Gretsch, and I've always wanted to have a Gretsch. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're completely off track, but hey,
We'll put
we
a
do what we
timestamp.
want. We do what we want here. No, I'm not cutting anything. It's
No,
part
I mean,
of the
like, we'll put a
convo.
timestamp for the folks that want to get straight into the
Into the chat.
Quran
well,
of it.
Well, I'm not doing that. That's
Okay.
too much trouble. If they're along for the ride, they're along for the ride. But why don't you go ahead and introduce the topic before we start the slideshow? What is our text for this first episode of season 5 of Texting, a podcast for textual deviants?
Nicely put. So those of you watching can see I'm holding up the book by Elif Shafak, The 40 Rules of Love.
Hey, your edition is different from mine. I thought you had this one. I think our page numbers are the same, but maybe the cover's just different.
I think I kind of prefer yours, but mine has a certain charm. It's just a bit more maybe feminine. Yeah, so it's a book that has been dear to me for many years and significant in relationships, previous and present, with my lovers. And yeah, just has a lot of memories with Morocco in particular, and my quest to soften the hard edges of Islam in the people that I met there.
Oh, that's interesting. Soften the hard edges of Islam. Okay, we'll keep that in mind as we discuss this text, The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak.
Which I can just add, I recommended to you just prior to you leaving for your recent trip around Anatolia or Turkey. Turkiye.
And of course we should Türkiye, and of course we should say that the author herself is Turkish. Did we already mention that?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, shame on us. All right, well, there she is. It's a kind of caricature of Ms. Shafak, and this is your slide. You say she has published 21 books.
Yeah, not bad. She's quite productive. And my mom is a big fan. She tends to keep up with her most recent published books. And yeah, I think I probably have read around 5, maybe, of her
Wow.
books.
Did you turn your mom onto her, or did your mom?
I think actually vice versa, yeah. So my mom has used her books in her book clubs. And I don't know how quickly we want to get into that somewhat controversial label, which I threw out earlier about Elif as a top tier airport writer. But I mentioned that now just because it is the kind of book that you probably see frequently appear at a middle class women's book club. She would be
Okay.
a darling in a place like that.
All right. Well, just to clarify, you turned your mom onto her, or
No,
you
I think vice
recommended her?
versa.
Oh,
Or
she turned.
independently. No, I mean,
Okay.
so my Moroccan partner for a while, her name was Safa, and at one point I went around the room and on the first day with my students, and I asked them to say their name and then one word that they kind of associate with the first letter of their name. And she actually, I think she told me in the end that she chickened out of saying this, but she told me she wanted to say Safa and then Sufi because she had recently read this book, but she was worried that saying that might stir up some questions she didn't want to deal with. But she knew Shafak.
This is a Moroccan young lady, yes.
Yes. So
And okay, so if she says publicly she's a Sufi, that's gonna raise some eyebrows or something.
yeah, exactly. She didn't, she wanted to stay a little bit more inconspicuous. But
got it.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, she's prolific, Ms. Shafak.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about her vitals?
Yeah, so just a second connection that I feel besides my time living in Morocco and other Arab or Islamic countries. I also discovered that she taught at the University of Arizona, which is where I studied creative writing. So
that's quite a coincidence.
Yeah, and I like to kind of fondly imagine her there in some of my previous haunts. And one of her texts, The Bastard of Istanbul, I could also recommend that one to you. One of the main settings is Tucson, so that was cool to read. And some other books that I've highlighted here are The Three Daughters of Eve, in which you get kind of 3 different portrayals of women with different degrees of orthodoxy and rebelliousness, and a 2019 book called 10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in This Strange World, which I've got on my bookshelf here. It's a one-woman story, about a sex worker in Istanbul. It becomes a bit farcical towards the end, but much of it is quite interesting. And of course, we do have a sex worker in this text as well. And I would still call this book her magnum opus. This is the 40 Rules of Love, and I guess you could call it a work of historical fiction about the incredibly close relationship between the well-known poet Rumi and one of his chief inspirations, the wandering dervish Shams of Tabriz.
So she was born in France, raised in Ankara, Türkiye, of course, and she was a teen in Spain, Jordan, and Germany. Was her dad like a diplomat or something?
That's what I'm thinking, or an academic. I'm not sure, but yeah, clearly she didn't have a provincial life growing up. So she's well traveled, very cosmopolitan, and she definitely belongs to that aspect of Istanbul culture, which is still present, but kind of suffering right now. We might get into that later, but she certainly is wielding her pen for that group of people and trying to celebrate Istanbul's coffee shop intelligentsia grouping.
Right. Okay. Well, I've got the quote that you used to describe her work previously. It seems like you're backtracking on that now, but I think I don't think I'm misquoting you.
I just don't want to. I just didn't want to start with a pejorative, but
Right.
go
Well,
on.
I don't consider it that. I just take
Okay.
it as being descriptive. Upper
Yeah.
echelon airplane reading is
Yeah.
what you said verbatim, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, our focus is the 40 Rules of Love, that novel you mentioned as being, in your opinion, her magnum opus. So I should warn you that these slides are just very bare bones. It's
They
just
look good.
skeletal.
Popping out.
It's just well, I just want the basic architecture of the book to be represented, and that can guide our discussion.
Sure.
So the book.
Do you want to make any immediate comments with regards to that description, that upper echelon airplane? I think you said before that it kind of resonated.
Well, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine like middle class ladies, literary clubs or book clubs, being interested in reading her work. I mean, it's not like Virginia Woolf's The Waves or something. It's
Right.
not like terribly difficult. So I think it would be easy for non-specialists to get into the flow of the narrative and, relate not only to the female characters, but to just the fascinating historical narrative, which, is juxtaposed, or I don't know how you would put it, intertwined with a more modern narrative, which is, I guess, introduced in this prologue. So you've got the family of Ella Rubinstein of, what is it, Northampton, Massachusetts, which is not a real place, I don't think, but anyway, she's a frumpy housewife as I envision her, hence this painting here. I just searched for Ella Rubinstein and this picture came up. It's like
nice. Looks kind of Frida.
I think it's some Austrian painter who painted several versions of this person, if the internet is to be, the interwebs are to be believed. But she's not, I think she struggles with her weight. She feels kind of middle-aged and unattractive. She's in a loveless marriage, I guess, to David, who is carrying on affairs, and I don't know, what is he, a dentist or something? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
They've got a daughter, university age, I guess, Jeanette. They're twins, Orly and Avi. There's a dog named Spirit, and at the bottom of this list, below the dog, I put Aunt Esther, who's a very minor, moralistic, kind of disapproving character. But, as I told you in our text correspondence about this reading experience, the Ella Rubinstein part of the book is, for me, the least interesting, but I do appreciate how it was wrapped up at the end, which maybe we can get to later. But when the book starts with that, right? So I'm like, oh, what have I gotten into? Of course, I knew that there was going to be a historical narrative about Rumi, and that was the attraction to me, having read, Coleman Barks' translations of Rumi's poetry and been quite moved by the English renderings of his work when I was in my mid-20s. So it's been a while since I was first exposed to it. And then, of course, I started reading it before I took my recent fantastic journey to modern-day Türkiye. And, one of the stops on our itinerary was Konya. So what else can I say?
Cheers to that. I'm drinking red wine because it felt very apropos,
for
Rumi and stuff
and
like
Ella
Omar
Rubinstein.
Khayyam, right?
What's that?
And Omar Khayyam. Omar Khayyam. You know
Omar
him, yeah?
Khayyam. No, do I?
Oh, he's an incredibly well-known Persian poet who maybe similarly...
Omar. Oh, okay. Right. Omar Khayyam. Right.
Yes, sorry, yeah. And celebrated red wine, so I felt I should as
Sure.
well. This being
Yeah.
Friday evening, and
The way you
me
said
not
it
having to work
sounded.
tomorrow.
The way you said it sounded like Hebrew, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, "What? Okay, yeah, I know. KHAYYAM,
That's right. Yeah.
right? Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the book starts with the prologue, and then we're introduced to the book within the book, or the novel within the novel, which is an interesting device, literary device. I like the way, I mean, I guess you could call it a frame narrative, but I prefer to think of it as the novel within the novel. I mean, really, that's what we're reading, apart from the Ella parts, right?
Yeah, and I even told you that on my most recent rereading, I didn't even bother with the Ella sections and just focused on
yes.
this.
Right.
So I'll be a bit rusty on those aspects.
Well, it's been probably a month since I finished, so I might as well. But I do remember how it was wrapped up, and so I can take up the slack if necessary.
Yeah, I got something interesting from GPT, which I haven't dissected yet, but it said this is not merely a frame narrative. It works as what Bakhtin might call a dialogic architecture, where stories speak to and destabilize one another.
Oh, hell
So
yeah.
that was
You're
kind of
invoking
interesting.
Bakhtin, my man
Just-
Bakhtin. Dialogic what? Dialogic architecture. Is that what you said?
Yeah, which I don't
that's
really know
nice.
what that means, but I guess I can kind of work it out.
Have you read The Dialogic Imagination by Bakhtin?
I have not.
I did long ago, and I think it's his study of Rabelais. But anyway, he's an
it also
interesting
says
theorist.
it's a spiritual commentary inside a bourgeois domestic plot. Which I also like the way that's phrased.
Fair enough. All right, so, well, how about that phrase, sweet blasphemy? I mean, let's relate that to
It's a little bit hokey, if I'm
Shams or
honest.
Sufism.
I find it a bit
yes.
cringy.
But no,
well, I don't know. No, that's my reaction. Yeah, that's my
Okay.
reaction. It's
But-
weak.
but
It's a weak
why-
title
why-
compared to
why
the
is
text
it-
itself.
why is it an appropriate title? I mean, I would say it's not inappropriate, but how does it relate to Shams and
Yeah, well, I guess
Sufism?
Shams being the rule breaker, the one who is fighting with orthodoxy, fighing with
conservatism?
the Pharisees, right? Of his time.
Mhm.
And also he's managing to soak the marrow out of life at the same time. So he's enjoying himself as he blasphemes. Would you
He's
say?
having a sweet old time.
He's having a sweet old time and seducing underage women as is seems to be the trend these days as well.
Well,
Sorry, it's a bit unfair.
I don't see
unfair.
that as having been his intention, but
Of course, I'm kidding, really. But
Yeah. okay.
yeah. He didn't particularly seem to want to enjoy that fruit anyway. So
No, he according to the text, who knows what happened in his actual life, but he didn't even consummate the marriage to Kimya, who was obsessed with him. So, to her great disappointment and shame.
yeah.
Okay. Well, there's also a character called AZ or Aziz.
Aziz, who is one of my
Aziz.
good friends, by the way. I mean, that name.
Right.
It's one of my, yeah.
Zahara or Zahara. That's not his real name. I want to say it's Craig Robinson or something like that.
In the book?
Yeah.
Ah,
Craig
okay.
Richardson?
That's a lot less romantic. That's not going to sell
Well,
sweet blasphemy.
I know. That's why he chose this pen name,
No, that's
which
a good
is
point. Yeah. I just
which I
forgot
guess
that.
is his Sufi name, but he's a Scotsman, okay?
Wow.
You don't remember that
Yeah, when you
part.
said Craig, I thought you were making a joke about your podcast partner.
No, that's the name of the character. It's
yeah.
another Scotsman named Craig, yeah, but I want to say it's Richardson or what did I say the surname was at first? Did I say Richardson?
I'm not sure.
It might be that. Not Thompson. I want to say it's that, although that doesn't sound particularly Scottish, but not important. He's a Scotsman who, after losing his wife, who was the love of his life, and struggling with, I think, addiction issues, he became a photographer and then got interested in Sufism, and then, basically became a disciple of Shams. And so anyway, he adopted this pen name and he wrote what would be his only work, Sweet Blasphemy. And so that's the connection with Ella Rubinstein. She has taken a job as a
publisher.
What? Well, she's working for a publisher. She's a reader. Yeah, she's a reader. I don't know if they would call her a beta reader or what, but she's a reader for a publisher. So she has to write a report on this book, Sweet Blasphemy, and let her employer know whether she thinks it's worth publishing. And so the book becomes she becomes obsessed with the book and then with the author, and she even starts corresponding with him, and basically a romance develops.
She commits sweet blasphemy.
Oh, sweet adultery. Although it doesn't seem to be much of a carnal relationship, but yeah, emotional, I won't say betrayal because her marriage is dead anyway, pretty much. So
isn't it consummated though? They do
something happens,
copulate at some point, right?
Well, some kind of deep tissue massage or something probably goes down in a hotel room. But yeah, I mean, the main thing, we'll get to that later. But the point is, because of her job working for a publisher, she comes across this work and becomes obsessed with the story of Rumi and Shams, and then the author, and, that sort of, I guess we, like her, are drawn into the same text and historical narrative, right? We're kind of reading the book along with her, I guess you could say. So it cuts, Shafak cuts back and forth between, the what would it be, the 13th century and
that's right,
and present day, basically I want to say 2008, but let's see.
But it's interesting because I feel like
2008,
as much as it kind of works as a plot structure or structural device, I feel it really could stand alone. As I said, on my most recent reading, I just completely ignored it, and it worked really well.
Sure.
Because it already is kind of unique in its storytelling approach, because you're jumping from perspective to perspective. So it's hardly lacking in any kind of dynamism.
I know, but I actually like that, It's like Borges' idea of the counter book. You've got the book and the counter book. So the Ella section is like the counter book, or you could say the Sweet Blasphemy is the counter book, which, I mean, according
I guess so, but
to,
it just,
to
as I
us,
said,
is the more interesting part of it. But
it just feels weak to me. That's all. And so, I feel like it kind of almost cheapens how rich the other sections are.
Okay, I see what you mean. I like it in the sense that it gives a certain modern relevance to this medieval historical narrative. So even though that was my least favorite part of the book, and I find Ella a bit, boring, maybe, I think that is a nice foil for the more interesting main narrative. Okay,
so the last thing I want to add to that, sorry, I know you're looking to move on, is another, I guess, useful aspect is many of us may tend to romanticize that 13th century existence as something otherworldly, oh, that's the version of life that we can beautify, that is free of today's nastiness. But, the writers, she quote even says, in many ways, the 21st century is not that different from the 13th century. Both will be recorded in history as times of unprecedented religious clashes, cultural misunderstandings, and a general sense of insecurity and fear of the other. So, in that sense, it's a way of insisting that that time wasn't that unique, and that because of that, this is absolutely relevant. Like it's worth knowing this story. And
and she does a great job of explaining all those cultural cross currents, I guess we could say. I mean, there's mention of like Mongol invasions, Genghis Khan and his armies rampaging across Eurasia, you know, and of course, this is after the Turks have overrun the old Byzantine Empire, you know, in what is modern day Turkiye, Anatolia.
But wasn't there also like, I was trying to brush up a tiny bit. I mean, history is far from my strong point, but they were mentioning about the Fourth Crusade coming through right around then.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of back and forth, you know, fighting and repossessing of certain territories and cities, I guess. But I mean, by this time, that part of the world, Turkiye, Anatolia, was culturally and linguistically, you know, well, let's say culturally, it was Islamic, but of course, you still had Christians and Jews living there, and maybe even some pagan holdovers.
That's interesting because, like, not to contradict you, but what I was reading is that while Konya was very firmly Turkish, Constantinople was still basically like, you know, Byzantium and Greek, and they even like self-identified as Romans. So I don't know.
13th century.
I could be completely wrong. I mean, that was my chat with GPT today.
And of course, that's never wrong.
We can fact check that stuff, but
yeah, let me make a note of that. So the question is 13th century, who controlled Constantinople, Istanbul? I mean,
right.
I think it was already under Turkish control at that point, but I don't have the exact date. So
okay, well, here's my AI overview from Google. It says Constantinople was controlled by two different empires during the 13th century. Latin Crusaders / the Latin Empire controlled the city from 1204 until 1261, following the Fourth Crusade. In 1261, Michael VIII Palaiologos recaptured the city, restoring the Byzantine Empire, which held it for the remainder of the century.
So when, just check quickly, when did the Turks take Constantinople and rename it? It
says the final Ottoman conquest was in 1453.
Okay, so it was the next century. Okay, interesting. So, all right, my dates were a bit off, but it's still true that you've got a lot of cultural cross currents. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those Greeks, or they called themselves Roman, those Byzantine folk, let's say, they were Christian, but they're still very much influenced by their Greco-Roman heritage, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about, like, because it seems like a very modern thing in some way, like the idea of multiculturalism. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's my way of imagining.
No, but actually, that was like one of the most multicultural places on earth, you know, and
it's exciting
to some degree still is. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, that's why it's such a fascinating place to visit. The world's largest museum, as it calls itself, because you've got so many different. I mean, going back to the Hittites, even you've got so many different cultures that have been rooted there. But what was I going to say about Byzantium? Well, I forget. Maybe it'll come.
Well, of course,
to me
and
in a
the
minute.
book doesn't take place in Istanbul. I mean, it's Konya, right? Or not even. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Of course, the name Rumi, right? What does that mean? The Roman, right? He's from Rum, which is the I guess Arabic word for Rome, and you know, the Byzantine Empire is basically the Eastern Roman Empire, right? But the Western capital is obviously Rome, but the Eastern capital was, you know, Constantinople, and so
Istanbul, Constantinople. You know that song, yeah?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay,
that's nobody's business but the Turks. Yeah, so also you've got the Silk Road, right? Running through this area. So you've got all kinds of
Samarkand, baby.
influences.
Uzbekistan, stand up.
Yes. You've got influence from east and west, and Konya, I guess, is kind of at the crossroads there. So it's a fascinating time and place. Or chronotope, as Bakhtin would say. All right.
Do you want to mention anything about your experience in Konya, and did you manage to find any connections there that still exist, talking about Rumi?
Well, big time. I mean, I don't want to give too much away because I'm in the process of writing that travelogue, which the first 2 installments of which are on my Substack. That's Mark Will Write, WRITE.substack.com. But basically I went to Rumi's Dervish Academy, I guess you could call it, and just by chance we happened to be there on a Saturday night. Had we gone one day earlier or later, we would have totally missed it, but just by the best possible
Fortune.
set of circumstances, and with all the luck in the world, we were there on a Saturday night when they do the whirling dervish dances. Nice. And so, this was not part of the regular tour. I had to find this on my own by asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of research, and then we scrambled to get an Uber and make it there just as they were starting. Nice. The Turkish word for this is sema, S-E-M-A. So they have a special hall there where they conduct the sema, which is a sacred ritual, but it's a dance too, kind of a cultural event, and a lot of people were there. A lot of locals and I guess a few tourists. And so, I mean, I just felt like everything fell into place. It was beautiful. Like that was one of my reasons for wanting to go, and if I had missed that would have been a major disappointment. So the fact that we managed to be there Saturday night, and I just happened to look, I don't know, I did a search on my phone and I found out it's every Saturday night at 7:00. This was like 5:30 p.m. I'm like, oh shit, let's get ready,
Yeah.
And so while everyone else was, enjoying a leisurely dinner and then retiring for the evening, we had a little adventure and made it there, saw that incredible performance, and then, stopped at a shawarma place on the way back, or nice. That's not the word, that's the Arabic word. What is it? Doner, I think, is the Turkish.
Doner.
Yeah. So anyway, Konya is an amazing place. And I would have liked to spend more time at the actual, school or Dervish Academy, but we saw his basically his tomb, and some of his personal items, and of course the walls are adorned with this beautiful calligraphy. I don't know if it's the Kufic script, but I've always loved Arabic writing, which is so artistically beautiful, aesthetically amazing. Yep. So read all about it when I post that particular installment. Okay, so the book, and I guess Rumi's main work, also is inspired by one of the surah that is what would you say, a chapter of the Quran?
I think so.
Verse.
I get a bit confused, but yeah.
Yeah, called Al-Fatiha. I'm not sure what that means, but let me just read what Elif Shafak says. Sufi mystics say that the secret of the Quran lies in the verse Al-Fatiha, and the secret of Al-Fatiha lies in Bismillah Rahman Irahim.
Bismillah Rahim, something like that. They often start like every prayer with that.
Okay, I'm sure I mutilated that, but probably even all
I usually do a better
wrong,
job
right?
than I just did. Most Def starts all of his albums like that.
Bismillah, Rahman,
Bismillah
Irrahim.
Allahim. Bismillah Allah. Even like my wife's, mother's side of the family, Tatar. I mean, this is like a big thing. Bismillah Irrahman Arrahim. Bismillah Arrahman Arrahim. Okay.
So on that side of the family, they're Muslim or what?
Muslim culturally.
Oh.
I mean, Tatar.
Tatar. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. So
in the
anyway,
name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful.
Right. And the quintessence of Bismillah is the letter Ba, and there is a dot below that letter. The dot underneath the B embodies the entire universe, and then there's like the actual Arabic writing. And the Matnawi starts with B. That's Rumi's main work, just like all the chapters in this novel. So that's an interesting feature of the text. Every section starts with B. So it all relates back to the Bismillah. And the dot underneath the B, or I guess the letter Ba, embodies the entire universe. So that I like that aspect of the structure. All right, so in this prologue, we're introduced to the killer known as Jackalhead, who's here represented by Anubis, which is appropriate because the killer of Shams, of course, fled to Alexandria, Egypt. And that's another thing I love about this book. You've got all of these,
iconic place names.
Yeah, in the, what would you say, Middle East or ancient or the Near East or whatever, right? Like from Egypt all the way to Samarkand to, well, here you see Alamut, right? I've labeled it #Persians, go Iran. But Alamut is where the assassins had their stronghold. Hassan-i Sabah, right? The old man of the mountain who trained the assassins. Of course, he's important in the work of William S. Burroughs. But this killer, Jackalhead, trained at Alamut in Persia, Iran, and then ended up in Konya, finally. But after he and, some other disgruntled little shits murdered poor Shams, he fled to Alexandria, Egypt.
I want to do one tiny little aside, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know if you've heard of Amin Malouf.
No, I don't think so.
He's a Lebanese-born French author, and one of his texts is called Samarkand, published in 1988, and it's a historical novel centering on the 11th century Persian poet Omar Khayyam, the creation of his Rubaiyat, and his friendship with Hassan-i Sabah, the founder of the assassin sect. So I read it many years ago.
It's called Samarkand. Wow. Yeah, that sounds great.
And it's funny if we're talking about these power friendships, and we've got another one here between a poet and, I don't know, a rebel, an outcast.
Oh, that's amazing. What's the author's name again?
Sure. It is Amin, Amin.
Yeah.
Malouf, Maalouf.
Oh, I'll be getting that.
Lebanese-born French author.
I will be getting that. Amazon wish list. That'll go in the show
Lebanon,
notes.
stand up.
Yeah, exactly. Don't let the Zionists destroy your Jesus statues and then pretend like it was an accident. And they're going to take care of those few bad apples. Fuck off. All right. So this is also interesting. You've got 5 parts. Basically the 4 elements plus the void. So part 1 is called Earth, and we're introduced to the character of Shams, whose name means
the sun.
The sun. That's interesting. And he is at this time in.
I hear this word, by the way, like in Arabic quite often. Like shams. I think they pronounce it a bit more like shams. But I mean, I remember hearing it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, speaking of Samarkand, that's where he is when the novel begins. Samarkand, modern day Uzbekistan, 1242, 13th century.
My
So
boss
what's
is
he
going
doing
there
there?
in about a week because I don't know. I've told you that our school has to take our Cambridge exams in Tashkent, right? Maybe I did. I
Oh,
don't know if I mentioned it to you, but
no.
Cambridge runs one of the biggest the IGCSEs.
Hmm.
The British system, they don't use AP. They use like IGCSEs and A levels, right? Those are like the
Mhm.
main exams, and like kids around the world take the international version of that, which is then recognized by universities all around the world. So
Okay.
this Cambridge testing body left Russia a few years ago, and because we have a partner school in Tashkent, every year we send our kids there for like a month or 6 weeks, and we
Mm.
basically just set up shop in Tashkent, which is just kind of funny. So I
Oh
went
man, you gotta.
once.
Oh, you
I went to
did.
Tashkent. I went to Tashkent
Oh,
in. I think I even probably told you at the time because I think
oh
you gave me
yeah,
shit for like, oh,
amazing.
another one of your holidays.
Right.
But yeah, I
Well,
didn't make it to
I'm just
Samarkand.
jealous, of
But
course. I'm just envious.
sure. But yeah, so my boss is gonna take a couple well deserved rest days during the next week, and he's gonna leave accompanying our students and go to Samarkand for a couple days.
Well, have you been to Samarkand?
No. So if I get to go to Tashkent for a longer period, I just went for 3 days, but I
Hmm.
would love to.
Man,
Yeah.
it looks amazing. I mean, this is in the slideshow here. We're showing a modern picture, but it's those are either the ruins of the medieval or ancient city, or an incredible reconstruction or
It reminds me of a
restoration.
place I visited in Tashkent, so that type of
Yeah,
architecture for sure.
beautiful.
Although, I mean, the mosques you saw in Istanbul, I presume you went to the main ones.
Oh
They're
yeah.
incredible.
Yes, no doubt. All right. Well, what's he doing there? What is Shams doing in Part 1 Earth? Why is he hanging around in Samarkand? He's a wanderer. He's a wandering dervish. I mean, originally, we should say he's from Tabriz, which is where? Where again? Where?
Iran, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, you sent me a picture of his well, maybe it was his tomb rather than his birthplace. No. I think it was his a monument commemorating his birthplace or whatever, right? But yeah, you said I hope once this nonsensical fucking invasion began, you said I hope Sham's birthplace is untouched or something like that.
Yeah, my bad.
So he's Persian. He's
Right.
Persian. He's Iranian, I guess we could say. Rumi himself, his origin is more obscure. Some say he may have been Mongol, or at least part Mongol. But I guess he came from a Persian family that ended up immigrating to Anatolia, what they called Rome at the time, Rome.
Yeah, because I was gonna say you mentioned this Rome connection.
Yeah. Well, that was later. I think his father moved the family there.
Yeah, I mean here on his wiki it's saying he was born actually in Tajikistan,
Rumi,
which is one
yes.
of the which is one of the feeder countries for Russia. Really, I mean it's in this like in its it's in its sphere of influence, you could say.
Yeah, so he, I don't know, Tajikistan. There were some Turkish peoples in there at one time or another.
Yeah, born to Persian parents, it says.
So there you go. So they're both he and Shams are, ethnically, I guess you could say Persian, but of course first of all, they're culturally, I guess you could say, Arabian because of Islam and its origin in the Arabian Peninsula, right? Like that culture is influencing that whole region.
Sure. I guess it's I don't know how authoritative we can be on stuff like that because there might be Iranians who would, push back a little bit.
Well, sure. No. Persian culture is its own thing, but you can't deny. I mean, they are Muslim, right? So,
100%.
Where do you think
mean in terms of
where do you think that came from?
Well, yeah, of course. I guess I'm just saying in terms of the whole like Shia Sunnah thing. So maybe
Sure. No doubt. I mean, yeah, and we can get into that later. But I'm saying like Shams and Rumi, as we're trying to untangle all this, they're both ethnically Persian, it seems, but in the novel it's suggested that Rumi may be partly Mongolian, right? Of course, that could have been a slur that his detractors aimed at him to, like, they considered it an insult or whatever. But you've got a lot of, as I say, we're in Silk Road territory, so there's influence even from places as far away as China. Like when I first read Rumi, I noticed like all these connections with Taoism and like, Zen and
Sure.
Far Eastern philosophy and mysticism. So it's a beautiful mix, Creole. All right. So, well, you didn't answer my question. What's he doing in Samarkand? He's been wandering around all his life, and here he gets the idea that he needs to go here or there.
Exactly. So he has a vision / dream, one of many that he's been experiencing since he was a youth, and this most recent one is summoning him to Baghdad, which will be the next step in him finding this soulmate that he needs to reveal himself to. Would you say that's...
Yeah, he's looking for his I don't know if he used the
and
word
I say soulmate
or beloved.
I said soulmate because
right.
Maybe very literally that is, he's looking for a mate, not necessarily a erotic mate, but a mate, a partner of his soul.
Right. Yeah.
And we can talk about the queer theory
beloved
later. I'm ready with all my queer theory facts when we get into that relationship.
Okay, well, he travels west, right? He leaves Samarkand. Wait, do I have that right? Is he going west or east?
I'm bad with that, so...
Oh, well, we'll have to look that up. But he leaves Samarkand for Baghdad.
Yeah.
And he ends up at what? A school? Kind of academy? It's not Sufi.
Kind of monastery.
Yeah, but they don't really have monks, right? They're what?
What
Islamic
do you mean? They're
scholars?
all basically... Yeah, but they're all
but
basically
it's not like a Christian monastic tradition. I wouldn't call it that. It's more like a place.
By the way,
where they
Samarkand
can
is
study.
very far east of Baghdad, so he would have been going west. Yeah, I mean, Samarkand is...
So he's going, and he's basically embarked upon a journey to the west. So first to Baghdad, and there he hears of this person, this great scholar and teacher in what they thought of as Rome, but is modern day Türkiye, which is even farther west. And then he realizes, when he hears the name and the description of this Rumi, he realizes this is my dude. This is the guy that I've been searching for. And I
mean, in a way, that master, I mean, I don't know how detailed we want to get into this now, but right, it's like the various,
the master of Baghdad,
the various like advisees of both of them are the ones who set them up, almost like a case of matchmaking.
Yeah, but I do remember some part of the novel where Shams says, "Oh, I know he's the one I've been waiting for."
Yeah,
doesn't he? I mean, he's very sure of it, right? Like the master tests him. He's like, you can go in the springtime or whatever, and he waits till spring, and he's like, "No, you can go in the fall," and he has to wait.
Right, he doesn't want to let him go.
Right, but he is patient because he says, "I know it's my destiny to meet him, so I can wait another 6 months or whatever," even though I'm eager to go. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's jump into the
Part 2, Water, and this takes place in Konya 1244. That's actually a picture of his, if you're watching the slideshow, that's a picture of Rumi's school, academy. I don't know, would it technically be a madrasa? Maybe not in the Sufi tradition, but anyway, that's where he's buried, and you can still go there today. It's an amazing place, and that's a picture of Rumi next to it. So the scene changes to Konya, and can't remember if in part 2, I guess it would have to be that Shams arrives in Konya in part 2, right?
I'm not sure, yeah.
And so then we've got some minor characters: Desert Rose the harlot, Hassan the beggar, Suleiman the drunk. I'm reminded of Jesus here, right? Like Jesus hung out with the tax collectors and the whores and the outcasts of society, and Shams is the same, right? Rumi, on the other hand, is a respectable Islamic scholar,
And I want to add to that, just because I just spent an hour today looking at the novel, because it's been a few weeks since I did my rereading. But I mean, the parallels between Christ and Shams are, what's the word I'm looking for when something is like beyond. This is the portion of the podcast where I ask Mark to find a word for me. We do this pretty much every episode. Uncanny, that's the word I'm looking for.
I was about to say that, believe it or not.
The parallels are uncanny. So, as I mentioned earlier, Shams is continuously having these visions as a youth, and in a way, it's causing him to feel estranged from his parents.
Mm-hmm.
And similar thing happens with Christ, and he was in the process of training to become a carpenter. So that's like reaching a point where it's almost like ridiculous in terms of the parallels, and he has to leave his parents because he feels just so isolated from them. They're not especially, I mean, I guess you could say Joseph and Mary were more receptive. They weren't necessarily like Mary seemed to be more aware that she was giving birth to the Christ. But I kind of vaguely remember there being some tension there as well as Jesus was growing up. Peace be upon him.
Yeah.
And another interesting little side note, just that Shams, when he's born, he kind of assumes that everyone else is seeing things just the way he is.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that they're not. And I don't know, we can get into that later, but I wonder, this is the guy who's insisting that we abandon our, what do they call it? Nafs, right? Abandon your nafs, your ego. And at the same time, he does seem like a very proud and defiant character. And I'm not saying this is a criticism, but
right.
It's like you would require a very strong sense of self to be who Shams was.
Right. He's egotistical about being egoless.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. So that's an interesting tension.
In a good way, an interesting way, not in a way that I condemn or anything.
In a arguably selfless way.
Yeah. And another important point, you may have mentioned it already, but he has visions, not dreams. He's adamant about that. He says he never dreams.
He has both, though, right? Like he's
but doesn't he say they're not dreams?
You're right.
Because like he wakes up and the tavern keeper or whatever says, "Hey, you were dreaming, man," and he's like, "No, I never have dreams. I have visions." Like I can't remember what that was an important distinction for him, because I think dreams are like not tangible or real, but visions are like prophetic revelations or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would just say sure, and I think that's a really good point. But it slightly differs from like Kimya, right? Kimya was the adopted daughter,
right?
Whose visions happen in an awake state,
right? True,
state.
Yeah.
So
she actually like sees Rumi's dead wife.
She sees
and that
dead
kind of
people.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to part 3, wind. We're still in Konya, but it's the next 3 years, or I guess the same year as the previous part, and then the next 2 years after that. So this is all about the developing relationship between the two great Sufi, heroes, or I don't know.
Well, one Sufi hero.
Spiritual warriors.
And one soon-to-be Sufi hero.
Okay. Yes, fair enough. And the domestic trouble that this causes, the
very
Rumi's family is very jealous, and there are some conflicts, and there are actually some, I don't know if you'd call them conflicts, but like teachable moments between Shams and Rumi, right? Like, what's that? I don't know if it's in part 3, but it's like Rumi is doing something. Is he reading? And then Shams is like, what are you reading? And Rumi says, you wouldn't understand. And then later, Rumi does basically some kind of magic trick, right? Like he throws all these
Shams
books.
does the magic trick.
Oh yeah, I mean Shams does the magic trick, right? He throws all the books in the water, and
Yeah.
Rumi's like, "What are you doing?" He says, "Oh, you wouldn't understand." And then like
Right.
the books are not destroyed or even wet.
Right.
Am I remembering that right?
Yeah. And
It
I
is
think,
water, not fire, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that was in the previous part.
I don't know. But it also is
Not
interesting.
important.
No, not. Well, I was just going to say it's. Again, I want us to kind of sink our teeth a little bit deeper into the relationship, but I don't know how that corresponds with your slide setup.
Well, we can,
But-
let's just get through this and then we can have a
is there a section
free-ranging
devoted?
conversation. No,
Okay.
as I said, it's bare bones, it's skeletal,
Sure.
just like the structure. But then in part 3, we've got more of the minor characters. You've got the Zealot, who is the uncle of Baybars, the warrior, who is probably the most loathsome character. He's interesting, but he's disgusting, right? He's a total hypocrite, a religious hypocrite, that the kind that we see in all of the Abrahamic religions and probably in all religions of the world, right? The fake, the pious fraud, basically. Like he's presenting himself as such a devout, follower of Islamic law, and he goes to the whores and he drinks and he beats people up. I mean, he's a piece of shit, right? And his uncle
he's
is
obviously
the
like compensating
zealot.
for like a lack of coherence in his brain, and like I think they mentioned something about a trauma that happened to him or something that
He's
affected
probably
him.
retarded. And then you've got Rumi's sons, Aladdin, who is
Aladdin, by the way, that's how it's pronounced.
Aladdin, who is an unattractive, really devious little shit. And then Sultan Walad, his elder brother, who's very kind, understanding, a very kind and understanding young man. Really, I would
shout
say
out
noble.
to Aladdin really quick. Like, of course, I basically share your description, but I like that there are certain questions left in the text to make us maybe just slightly skeptical of some of the themes that seem obvious, like, oh, this is the hero, this is the villain, and so on.
Right.
But you get little drops of question marks, like as I've mentioned earlier, the text is divided by perspectives. So a lot of the characters that Mark has just mentioned, I don't know why I switched to third person there.
Yeah.
Mark has just mentioned.
I'm not here, so just go ahead.
So a lot of the characters that you mention, they get their own chapters, so we're seeing things from their perspective, which is nice. And in Aladdin's last section, he describes how his father tricks him into admitting that he was partly responsible for the plot that results in Shams's murder.
Yeah.
And I'll just read the last couple paragraphs.
Yeah, please do.
My father had always been a loving man. He embraced people of all faiths. He was kind toward not only Muslims, but also Christians, Jews, and even pagans. After Shams came into his life, his circle of love became so vast, it included even the most fallen of society, prostitutes, drunks, and beggars, the scum of the scum. And obviously that's not Rumi's view of them. This is Aladdin's view of those people. I believe he could even love Shams's killers. There was and still is only one person he could not manage to love, his son. So
yes, you're right. That's a pretty poignant section, and I remember that as well. And it shows like a human side of Rumi. It's kind of like something that Yoko Ono said about John Lennon, right? Like he loved the whole world, but he wasn't good at loving the people closest to him.
Yeah.
I can't remember if she said that.
Well, yeah, and I mean
exactly,
the way
but that was the basic idea.
I mean, and again, this is what I wanted to get into earlier, but yeah, he pursues his love, and we'll define love in greater detail later, but he pursues his love of Shams with such zeal that, you could say he's very inconsiderate to his wife as well. And I wonder how much Shafak wants us to pause at those moments, or if we're
Well,
just meant to
I think
celebrate.
I think that's a credit to her. She recognizes that nuance, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but at the same time, right? Like we don't feel a lot of sympathy for Aladdin because he's
of course, yeah.
fucking scumbag. But it is kind of, I mean, it's poignant, as I say. It's affecting to read how. I mean, he's heartbroken, right? And his father is indifferent. His father just cut him out of his heart, and that's devastating to the rejected son.
And he's a young, impressionable kid when all this
Yeah,
happens.
he's stupid, sure.
Walad has had a bit more time to kind of
Yeah.
view things a bit more philosophically. So
Yeah, but even so, like, just
sure,
his personality is more, you know,
yeah, impulsive, impetuous.
admirable, let's say.
Oh yeah, in terms of Aladdin, yeah.
Right. So you mentioned the wife, that is Kara, of course, whose second wife, the first wife, whose name I have forgotten, died. And that's the one that Kimya, who is the adopted daughter of Rumi and his family, sees like visions of. But interestingly, Kara is or was a Christian who was basically an idolater of Mary, like a devout.
She loves her some Mary.
Yeah, she loves her some Mary. But then she converts to Islam. Of course, the conservative neighbors kind of whisper, "Oh, maybe she's really a secret Christian," but that just shows like the broad-mindedness of Rumi and you know, the embracing of the universal that you were alluding to before.
Well, yes, but again, I want to like say that one of the main tenets even today of Islam is that, and I've experienced this firsthand very intimately, is the men have permission to marry other women of the book. All right, so they can marry Christians. Women cannot do the opposite. But yeah, so what Rumi was doing, maybe it was slightly progressive, but it was still very much permissible, and you could say a product of patriarchy to some extent.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know
that's how it's going down, baby boy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I don't know how common. I'm just saying.
Well, I remember you telling me that was like but I remember you telling me that was like a major, let's say, obstacle or stumbling block in your relationship with your Moroccan.
Yeah, because I was man.
Right.
And
right.
That's the big.
Had
haram.
those gender roles been reversed, it wouldn't have been an issue at all. Yeah, that's something to think about.
A Muslim likes some Christian pussy. They don't mind it at all.
I can't believe you said that. I know. But okay, so that takes us to part
Demonetized. 4. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, all that revenue stream I'm going to lose out on. So that takes us to part 4, which is fire. We're still in Konya. The year is 1246, and I don't remember what happened, but I do remember because a new minor character is introduced, really only in one chapter, but I like this character. He's called Hussam the student. Basically, Shams goes to the madrasa of the zealot, the aforementioned zealot, the uncle of Baybars, and confronts him. And Hussam, who is studying Sharia law or whatever, trying to be as orthodox as possible. He's told by Shams, your friend, Shams announces it to the class. Your friend Hussam here has a Sufi heart. He shares like a riddle with them, and he likes Hussam's answer the best. And so he says, your friend Hussam here has a Sufi heart. And this chapter is written from the perspective of this Hussam, and he seems like he's on the point of conversion to Sufism. He's like, yeah, this guy Shams makes a lot of sense, and my teacher here is kind of an asshole, right?
And this is an almost moment-for-moment replica of the opening of Savage Detectives by our boy Roberto Bolaño, where you get the visceral realist coming into this professor's lecture, just, interrupting it, And then you get our hero protagonist at the time. I don't remember his name. I don't know if you do, but it's
Arturo
Garcia Madero.
Bellano. Oh,
Juan Garcia Madero, right?
okay.
He witnessed. Oh, here I even have it all right here. So, Garcia Madero is in a lecture being given by Julio Cesar Alamo. And it sounded like a really torturous lecture series. Anyway, so the visceral realists interrupt. There's this moment of anarchy, and our main character is like won over by them, despite the fact that the rest of the class support the professor. And that's
okay.
that leads him into the whole experience with the visceral realists and so on. So
yeah,
it just
you
felt
were mentioning
really
that
similar.
before. That's interesting. I wonder if she was
exactly
alluding to that or stealing from it. Well, anyway, I did a search for Sufi heart, and this image came up. And apparently, I read something saying that this is like a common Sufi image. It's like a heart with star and crescent moon, and then wings. Had you seen that before?
No. Oh, interesting.
So that's part of like Sufi iconography, I guess, which is, I mean, imagery is kind of frowned upon in that tradition, but maybe Sufis are more open to it. But I saw several depictions of this winged heart. Okay,
so the depictions too. I don't want to go on a tangent, and I don't know.
Right,
I'm not an authority on this, but I have a feeling that the Persian branch or the Shia branch, they're a bit more relaxed about depictions of faces and so on. So maybe there's something to that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but I had the idea. I had the idea while in Türkiye, hearing about the 99 names of Allah. It's like, that's almost a kind of polytheism, right? Like, is it really inseparable if you can have 99 names for the same entity? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
no, I feel you.
We won't go any deeper with that.
We'll get a
lest
fatwa.
I be accused of sweet blasphemy. Part five is the void, and so we're still in Konya for part of this section, 1246 to 1247, but part of it takes place in Damascus because this is where Shams flees to, right? He runs away. He disappears, right?
Yeah. I mean, this
What's
is a little
that
bit vague,
about?
but I remember this is like, is this just prior to him getting killed? Like is it one of those like last respites where he's going to have a little self-vacate before he knows he has to go?
He runs away. I think he runs away after he's married to Kimya, right? Kimya wants to marry him. He goes through with it, and then he realizes that it's a horrible mistake. How does he realize that? She wants him to consummate the marriage, and he's horrified. What? No, I couldn't possibly do that. Also, I don't know, maybe he feels the lust overtaking him again, or maybe maybe he thinks he's reached the end point in his relationship with Rumi, but he runs away. They go looking for him. And then, of course, he does go back because Jackalhead and company take him down, cut him down in Konya, right?
Yeah.
What happens there? So
garden.
that's the void, right?
In Gethsemane,
yeah.
Gethsemane.
The garden. So the void is also the absence that Sham's literal absence and then later death leaves in the heart of Rumi, but it is that void that enables him to compose all of his beautiful poetry, or at least that's how the novel presents it, right?
But doesn't the majority of it happen after Shams's death?
What? Novel?
I mean, the majority of Rumi's output.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I mean, that's what the book seems to be saying.
Sorry, I thought you meant the void, the time of his temporary absence.
No. I said the void is, there are two meanings there. One is the absence when he flees to Damascus, but then there's the void of his death, which is a permanent absence, right?
Sure.
And so that longing for union with the beloved or whatever, the other, the soulmate, as you say, that is what produces this amazing poetry.
Yeah. Yeah. The unrequited, it's not fair to call it unrequited because obviously it was requited, but in that moment it's unrequited, right? So
Yeah,
in a
because
way,
he no longer exists in this world, you know.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so I thought this would be fun to look at some of the words from the glossary, which is the last part of the book. I appreciate that she included all these terms for us ignorant English speakers, but let's quiz you, see if you know any of these. Locum, you know what that is?
I looked up a couple of these, by the way, today. Is locum food, a sweet?
Yes, sir. It's Turkish delight.
1 point, biatch. 1
Turkish
point, biatch.
delight. Turkish delight.
Right. Yes.
Nafs, we talked about. That's the ego.
The ego, yeah.
Ghazal, how about that?
Yeah, that's a type of poem. Rhyming couplets.
Well,
I believe.
I don't know if they rhyme, but I think they are couplets. That's the Persian type of poetry that Rumi
Make it rain,
wrote.
son. 3 for 3, bitch.
How about hammam?
Oh, come on, son.
Oh, there we go.
Come on, son. You know your boy likes to go to the hammam.
Oh, you do know?
Oh, yeah. Of course I know hammam, bro.
Why?
Hammam is like hammam. Yeah, it's just a major, aspect of moments in my life. I mean, it's like, it's just like a bath, basically, like a Turkish bath.
I know, but is that term used in like Morocco?
In Morocco, absolutely.
There's not.
But I mean, even in Russia, you can go to like a nice hotel and they'll give you, they'll have a spa and a hammam. Like, so it's one of the types.
They use the same word. Is it originally Turkish or Arabic?
I'm not sure, but it's a very common
word. I thought it was
word.
Turkish, so that's why I was surprised that it might be used in Morocco. But maybe it is like.
Oh, it's definitely used in Morocco.
Arabic.
I mean,
all right.
And we know that. Okay, whatever. Go to the next one.
We know what? What do we know?
Well, just like it's especially in the past, like you wouldn't necessarily be bathing daily, but a woman would, especially like if she wanted to look good, she goes to the hammam and she comes out like a new being. I mean, just like her top condition. She's like scrubbed off every bit of toxicity from her body, and she's coming out like angelic. So yeah.
All right. How about kismet?
Kismet. All right, that's my first fail, I think.
Well, there's a musical called Kismet that was popular in the States. It basically means fate or destiny. Let me see how she defines it here in her glossary. Yeah, she says luck or fortune. Tasbih.
Don't know that one either.
This is a rosary. One of the things I note, rosary,
but like an Islamic style one.
Yes, right.
Yeah, okay.
But what I'm saying is,
at one point,
I noticed, I don't know why I did this with my wrist, because I guess you could wear it there, but you could also just hold it. But yeah, I noticed, like, just as the Catholics have their rosary, in Turkey, and then I guess in other parts of the Islamic world, this
I think the taxi drivers will put them quite often on their mirror.
Yeah. This one's interesting. Insan-i Kamil looks like insane, right? It means the perfect human being according to Sufism. The stage is genderless and is thus reachable for both men and women. So that reminds me, one of the threads in the novel is like the stages of becoming a Sufi. Like this Aziz character says, that was when I learned the meaning of the S in Sufi. That was when I learned the meaning of the U in Sufi, and so on. Remember that?
Vaguely, but yeah, it sounds a bit hokey
too.
You
didn't read the
not in a few
Aziz
years,
and Ella Rubinstein section. But okay, I've stopped sharing the slideshow. We can just have free chat here as we wrap up. But
wrap up, bro. We should just really be getting started. We haven't even talked about a lot of this stuff.
We're almost an hour and a half in.
I understand, but like we've barely got into the characters.
Yeah, well, Hey, all right, we can take it wherever you want, but I'm just saying the clock's ticking, and
Okay, and
and
I
one
wouldn't
of us
mind.
has
Can I
to get
take
to bed.
Let me get a 1 minute break, okay? So we can call this a little break. Just I need to
Okay,
urinate.
make it quick. And we're back, and I do not remember what we were talking about. Do you?
Well, we finished kind of going through the main plot points. You finished the plot arc, and now you just said we could kind of go free reign a little bit.
Yeah. So where do you want to take it? I had something in mind, but when you got up to
Well, I don't
take
know.
your
I just wanted
restroom break, I forgot everything.
Okay, I mean, I guess just to talk a little bit more about I think the crux of the book, which is the relationship between, Rumi and Shams and what we make of it, and
Of course, we should also talk about the 40 rules themselves, right? Like, we didn't even explain that, but throughout the book, Shams shares in piecemeal fashion and, haphazardly his 40 rules. He doesn't just go 1, 2, 3, 4. He'll say, something will come up and he'll say, that reminds me of rule number 7. And then he'll either share like a maxim or epigram, or it could be like a parable or a riddle or something, or almost like a Zen koan or something.
Yeah.
But do you have any favorites? Any favorite rules?
Well, I have okay, so again, naf. You know that word, naf?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that word?
That's a British term.
Yeah. Do you know it?
I forget what it means.
Naf basically, is a British informal adjective meaning like tacky, like corny.
Right.
So again,
okay.
I feel like this is where Shafak is like first of all, I'm pretty forgiving sometimes in certain contexts. As soon as I say that, I'm like, well, do I? But I can be forgiving.
You're naturally a
sometimes,
hater.
maybe, but I just wanted to say, like, in terms of like the self-helpy stuff, I can be a little bit forgiving. Like I'm more open to the self-help genre, I'd say, than many people. Like I'm down with what's his name, Eckhart Tolle.
Right.
Yeah. So in that sense, like some people might wince at some of these koans, as you said, but I think she does it. It's like they're just well written enough not to be Hallmark cards.
Mm-hmm.
Like they flirt with that. I think we'd be silly not to acknowledge that. Some of them flirt with it, but I like stuff like this. I get hard for morality, and so I even like had an idea of like posting all these around my house, and trying to live by them. So yeah, I find them pretty inspiring.
Well, share one of your favorites.
All right, but I mean, I'm not really as prepared as I would like to be for that.
Okay.
So maybe do you have one while I look for one?
Not. I mean, I probably got something underlined, but you go ahead, find one, and I'll do a quick search as well. But let's not,
Okay, here's one,
any
but I'm not
dead
necessarily
air.
like dubbing it the top one.
Right.
The midwife knows when there is no pain, the way for the baby cannot be opened, and the mother cannot give birth. Likewise, for a new self to be born, hardship is necessary. Just as clay needs to go through intense heat to become strong, love can only be perfected in pain. So,
okay. Well, here's
again,
one. I got
it's
one
just
for
the
you.
right mix of cliche and actual like inspiration.
Right.
Go on.
Well, this is just random. It's the first one I found. Real filth is the one inside. The rest simply washes off. There's only one type of dirt that cannot be cleansed with pure waters, and that is the stain of hatred and bigotry contaminating the soul. You can purify your body through abstinence and fasting, but only love will purify your heart.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And so we see, if the Quran were these 40 rules of love, I would be a lot more receptive to it, But when I started reading the Quran many years ago in like a last-ditch attempt to, find a way to become a good Muslim, I was just reading about, the kafir unbelievers and slaughtering them. And I know
the fire that awaits them.
I was seeing the fire and brimstone of the Quran, which was a big turnoff.
Because
then
there's another one.
Yo, go on.
The whole universe is contained within a single human being. You. Everything that you see around, everything that you see around, I guess is what she means, including the things you might not be fond of and even the people you despise or abhor, is present within you in varying degrees. Therefore, do not look for Shaitan, that's Satan, outside yourself either. The devil is not an extraordinary force that attacks from without. It is an ordinary voice within. If you get to know yourself fully, facing with honesty and hardness both your dark and bright sides, it's almost Jungian here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You will arrive at a supreme form of consciousness. When a person knows himself or herself, he or she knows God. Sweet blasphemy!
Yeah, and I mean, this just fits so cleanly with New Age philosophy, right? And again, I say that mainly positively. I was reading a little bit like what critics might say about the book, and yeah, I think some might, if they were looking for historical accuracy, they might bristle at this maybe modern New Age rendition of someone like Shams or Rumi, who you could argue were kind of more dogmatic than they're made out to seem, and rigorous Quranic scholars, who aren't like playing it so kind of free with spirituality.
Did you say fruity?
Free.
Oh, I thought you said fruity.
But
well, bristle away, bitches. I mean,
Plus, Rumi is pretty New Age, right? I mean, the stuff that we do read Rumi today. He pops up on every fucking Instagram yogis post, right? Mm-hmm. They'll have a quote from Rumi, so that is in Rumi.
I mean, it's not an accident, right? Like, how can? Why is there that correspondence? There has to be something to the essence of it. Like, even if he was whatever, a rigorous scholar, as you say, he still has these ideas which today we would classify as woo-woo or New Age or whatever. And
do you know what the history of that dance is? Like, does it go back to that time approximately? Any idea?
Well, you said you reread the novel. If the novel is based on history, Shams is the one who developed it.
Holy shit, I didn't really... Yeah, okay. I'm seeing that now. Yeah, that Rumi... I didn't realize it actually came from him. That's a massive...
Yeah, that's what was... No, that's what was so amazing about being able to see the Sema, as it's called, that Saturday night. It started there in the 13th century, and I think it was repressed for a while, but like now here they are in the 21st century and they're still doing that. I mean, it's just a beautiful tradition. And so in the novel it talks about how Shams kind of was inspired to what? I guess he's the choreographer of this dance,
Yeah.
And there's like meaning to, there's like symbolism to the hat that they wear and the clothing that they wear. Those, I guess you would call them skirts, right? There's white, most of them are in white, but like the leader of the dance, or I don't know what he would be called, I know there's a term. He does some chanting too. Like there's one guy that was in black, and of course there's music as well. Really trance-inducing music. It's just an amazing thing to see. But supposedly this was, I mean, if we trust the novel, this was the innovation of Shams. And he developed it in Konya while staying with Rumi. So that's, that's pretty amazing. I know what I was going to say before. Wrapping up the Ella Rubinstein narrative, I don't know if you remember. Well, I don't know. Should we include a spoiler? Maybe not.
I think it's okay. I'm not really into the spoiler-free videos that I watch.
Yeah. Well, okay. Spoiler alert, if anyone's listening. The Ella Rubinstein narrative ends up in Konya, Turkey. So she meets Aziz, the author of the novel that she's emailing and falling in love with. They actually meet first, I think, in Boston, and then he realizes he's dying. I want to say it's cancer. It's probably cancer, isn't it? And his dying wish is to go to Konya. And so she takes him there, and he dies in Konya, where his master also died. And she organizes the funeral service, I guess, and people from all over the world come. He had friends from everywhere. And so I think that's a nice way to wrap it up. I like the way she did that. That's totally fictional, of course, but I mean their romance or relationship or whatever it is kind of tawdry, or I don't know if I'd call it that, but predictable maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like a married woman's fantasy meeting the tall, dark stranger or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think there's an element of that for sure.
Again, that's just descriptive. I'm not being judgmental. Like,
no, I get it.
Totally for it. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that that is Aziz and Ella. Theirs is romantic in a way, right? Whereas Rumi, Shams, well, we could ask. Ooh. Time for your queer theory.
Like queer,
is there a trace of eroticism there? I mean, is that why Shams can't consummate his marriage with Kimya? I actually don't think so, but could it be that he's sublimating some kind of something?
Maybe a little bit, and I think whether or not that's the case, something I came across that I sort of did enjoy. I'm sorry I'm killing time as I look for it, but I'll just say it myself then.
A passage or
GPT.
Oh
my good conversation. But no, but coming from queer theory, if we think about the word queer, not necessarily as reflecting homosexuality, but more just about things that are considered queer or dubbed queer. So it would be consistent with queer approaches to love just because it's breaking from what's expected in like a male friendship, like, so they go beyond maybe classic borders and they refuse those borders so that they reach a level of like communion that maybe most people would shy away from, even if it's not based at all on like sexual touch or
right.
And I think that's interesting because, like, whatever your deepest connections are in life, the ones where you are like ready to like love that person and like share that, those are the moments you can really feel like you get a huge buzz from that, right? I mean, it's like those are the moments we live for in a way. Yeah, you feel that communion with a person, and it could be of the same gender, and it often can be. So, I think that takes courage. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
I think of it more as a kind of ecstasy in the sense of standing outside of oneself. If we're looking at that word etymologically, right? Ecstasis is standing outside of something, but I always take it to mean outside of oneself. And how do you do that? By connecting with or merging with the other, the beloved, the lover or whatever, right? The connection of souls, or whatever connection soulmates have. I was just going to say, like, another fascinating thing that I learned from the novel is that after Shams disappears and then after he dies and disappears forever and Rumi starts writing, all of this poetry starts pouring out of him, that he has two signatures, right?
Yeah, this is interesting too.
He either signs the poem Shams, so again that's showing his unity with his
Right.
beloved friend, or do you remember the other?
Yeah, just because I read it today, silence.
Yeah, I thought that. I mean, that's so fascinating, right? Like
Yeah.
silence.
Yeah.
That's almost Zen too,
Like
or even
you,
like
yeah, you
it's
return
even
to
like
the void.
it's the void. It's almost like Beckettian, right? You know,
Yeah.
Beckett said something like, all speech is a stain upon silence, or something like that. You
Nice. Yeah.
know, or all narrative or rhetoric or whatever it was. You know, so
Show notes.
yeah. So that I was really glad to learn that in the context of reading the novel, which, if you look at his Wikipedia page or read a biography, you would find the same thing. But there's something about learning that kind of thing while enjoying a novel, which makes it more powerful. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, and I think another question which we touched upon earlier, but, which might be worth revisiting briefly, is just like, if you find that thing in your life, which, Ella does the same thing, right? Like, if you find something in your life that seems to boost your life quality significantly, like what is worth sacrificing for that? They both sacrifice their families for, and they can justify it because they found something that seems to be at such a higher level than their previous life.
You mean Ella and Rumi?
Yes. And
okay.
so, you wonder, alhamdulillah, I haven't been in that situation, but like you wonder about people who do like leave their spouses or something, like if they have an experience that, is so powerful that they're like, oh fuck. I mean, usually I would say those things happen when you already have maybe a challenging relationship. I mean, that, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm talking about like infidelity here, or like affairs or so on. But like, yeah, when you have a moment that like, oh, this, I can't say no to, like, this is such a better, more profound, more pure existence, like experience of life. Like, and if you have that, what do you give up for that? And it seems like the classic, like, it seems like writers are often challenging us to live more fully, right? And to give up stuff to live more purely. So in a way, Shafak's message of this book seems to be supporting Ella and her departure from her petty bourgeois existence.
Oh, yeah.
She's saying, yes, do this, right? Do this. But it's also a message that's easier to say than do, And
well, but I like how
aftermath can be really destructive. Sorry. Yeah.
Right. But I like how that part is not, it's not disclosed, it's not discussed, it's not even hinted at. It's totally left to our imagination, if I remember correctly. Basically, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go with this guy to Türkiye. I'm going to basically tend to him as he's dying. I'm going to arrange the funeral, and then I'll figure everything else out after that. So who knows? Maybe she does go back to Massachusetts, and she tells David or whatever the dentist's name is what happens. Maybe they are able to reconcile. Maybe they agree to go their separate ways. But she had an important experience, which
but
it defies like conventional morality, but it's also understandable.
I want to talk more about the Rumi thing, though. Like the result is we get this great artist who inspires, but you get the death of Kimya. You get a
what happened to Kimya? I forget. She wasted away, or she committed suicide?
She wasted away.
Yeah.
So you get Kimya, and you get Aladdin, and you get Shams.
Aladdin's a little shit. Kimya, I mean, can her death be laid at the feet of Rumi? I guess you could say Shams, but
Yeah,
You
I'm
know?
talking about the power of this relationship. What
Right.
is left behind? You get
Right.
Kimia, you get Aladdin, who I think, could have been nurtured to become at least a neutral person with his life.
Yeah.
With a bit more love.
I see
You
what
get-
you're saying. So there's
You
always
get
some kind
Shams
of
himself being killed.
right. Well, but that, that's not due to the relationship necessarily. It's more like that's his personality. He was destined to be killed and crucified, or
Maybe,
he's
but
kind of
the point is, it
got a
happens through
Christ
disruption.
complex, right? Like he's
Sure, it's the destiny and so on.
yeah. I mean, basically, you're saying there's collateral damage and
Yes.
wreckage that's always left behind, but okay. I mean, people are
Which again
leaving.
comes back to this idea that of like the how you phrased it, the egotistical egoless or whatever, like artistry or comes at a price, and it's like I don't know. It's
yeah. But you could also say that everyone causes some collateral damage and leaves some wreckage behind, so can you fault those? I mean, we've talked about this before when considering the work of, say, Gauguin, right? Like that. In that case, you've got the artwork, but then it's like, okay, and also, he was like married to a 12-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about Michael Jackson a lot lately because his biopic just came out, so I've got that. I don't see him as destructive, but the point is he's a very deeply flawed person. That's the generous reading.
Yeah, so that's that. I mean, this argument has come up before.
It's almost ad nauseum. Yeah.
But it's not, it's not going to prevent me from reading the Matnawi in its entirety. I haven't done that. I just, read the Coleman Barks translation, which is excerpts. But, at some point, I'd probably like to do that.
Yeah, my question is just, are we meant to, does Shafak want us to see these people as like, as heroes?
I think
people who have transcended, or
partially, no,
or just interesting personages.
Well, they're heroic in some ways, but then she also shows their human qualities. And I think that final scene with Aladdin and his father who has rejected him, that's a really, I mean, it's really great that she includes that in the narrative, because it shows that the great, revered master, the poetic genius and all of that, also was in some ways, you could say, a shitty father, but Aladdin is also a shitty son, so we don't have a lot of sympathy for him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's still, if you're the embodiment of universal love and you totally despise and reject your own son, that's pretty rough, But this is what I was saying before, like, some of these figures, John Lennon, for example, the
well, we could go for days
peacenik or
with this kind of with the examples,
Sure, right. Well, who else were you thinking of? Dostoevsky or somebody? Tolstoy,
it doesn't matter.
maybe.
Martin
Tolstoy.
Luther King.
Yes,
Martin Luther King, Gandhi. I mean, whatever.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, it's getting late here. And we're bumping up on 2 hours, but let's just share final thoughts. I mean, I do want to interview you about your Türkiye trip. I think that'll help me as I'm composing my travelogue, but we'll save that for another time, or we'll do that
going back
camera.
this summer. Although this summer is going to be more basically beach, but
yeah. Well, I'd like to hear more about your experience, and we can compare notes. And I hope you're enjoying my travelogue. As I just realized today that
I didn't realize that Istanbul had come out, so I've opened it up on my computer and I'm going to read it.
Oh, okay.
I just read the prologue.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that Istanbul had dropped.
Well, just part one. There's another.
But still
part of that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, I thank you for the recommendation.
Mashallah, brother.
I really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna put this Samarkand in the show notes. I will definitely order that. That sounds incredible as well.
Nice.
I do like the genre of historical fiction. You know, the initial description, and remember, Falk was in our episode on the 64. What did we call it? The write up, right? The textually deviant NCAA tournament style competition of the 64 greatest writers. She was on your list of 21, and
beautiful woman, by the way.
What?
She's beautiful, also.
Oh, physically attractive. Don't objectify her. But anyway,
inside and out.
Yeah, but the fact that you introduced us to her work, I mean, that I appreciate that, and this was definitely the first book of hers that I should have read and did read. So
yeah.
All right. Well, this has been season 5, episode 1. Are we going to be able to do 10 episodes this year? It's already
I think
April.
so. I think we felt the magic of our, Shams and Rumi connection that exists in our dynamic and texting. So this will hopefully propel us.
Which one of us is which? Am I Shams or Rumi? I sometimes feel like one or the other. So I don't know. Do you identify more with
roles.
one? Do you identify more with one or the other?
No, I think in some ways I can be more unconventional, and in other ways you can be more unconventional. I wouldn't like to. I mean, maybe because both of us maybe would celebrate Shams more than Rumi, right?
In the book, I think I identify more with Rumi in some ways. So yeah, not so much in the book, but in terms of like literary output.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what are we doing next? Are we going to get into the co-reality stuff? Well, I don't know.
I would love that.
Well, then let's do that. Let's focus on that. I mean, this is just our thing. We do whatever we want. We basically have no audience. No one's listening to us. So we just...
I disagree with that.
We just go
I disagree
for the
with
co-reality.
Some of our episodes have drops. But I do think if we're going to do co-reality, we need to,
explain what it is.
And give out very clean, PDF versions if we can. I can probably figure out how to make that if we don't have them.
Well,
so people can have a reference point.
So we start with the volume 1, right? Because that had the first co-reality manifesto, co-realist manifesto, explaining you mentioned Savage Detectives earlier. That was the visceral realists were one of the co-realist influences. No one knows what we're talking about, but it'll make more sense in episode 2, I guess. I mean, maybe we'll do something else first. We'll talk about it. And if anyone has any suggestions or recommendations, we're open to them. So let us know.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
We'll see you next time. Farewell.
Texting.